Welcome everyone to Topic Wonders number 10. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Steampunk Star Raisin.
Of AmberStreet.com.
What's up, Ray?
The truth is out there.
What's up, Scott? Alright, what do you got for Steampunk with real news?
Well, I mean, I was talking about you want me to talk about I know there's a controversy with the what you define as a dwarf planet and what you define as a planet, and some people still to this day are angry about Pluto being downgraded to a dwarf planet. Is that what you were talking about? Or
Yeah, you could talk about that if you like.
I mean, you have like the state of Arizona had passed a law that they still classify Pluto as a planet. Last year, the New Horizons spacecraft flew by Pluto. Pluto does have a very complex geology. I mean, it has mountains. It's got a thicker than expected methane atmosphere, and it's a very interesting planet because it's very topography, very geologically active, which they didn't expect for Pluto. They thought it was going to be dead like the moon. And the reason why I would consider Pluto a dwarf planet and no longer a planet is because our understanding of planetoid objects is still considered a planetoid. A planetoid object could be an asteroid. There's different subcategories. It could be an asteroid, it could be a dwarf planet, it could be a full-size planet, it could be a comet. A comet's a planetoid technically. And the problem is that you would have to, if you're going to include Pluto as a planet, then you would have like 30 planets in the solar system because there's all these Kuiper Belt objects, and Pluto is now defined as a Kuiper Belt object, or it's at the very edge of the Kuiper Belt. And some people theorize that Pluto may have migrated from the Kuiper Belt into the inner or the outer edge of the solar system because it's got such a strange elliptical orbit. It's like something knocked it out of orbit. Like because most objects when they form in the solar system, they're very circular orbits, and Pluto has this long, erratic, elliptical orbit. And yeah, I mean, you have and also you have other interesting upgrades like Ceres, which was originally considered an asteroid, is now also considered a dwarf planet. But the confusing thing that people get confused. Okay, Ceres is considered an asteroid, is considered a planetoid object, and a dwarf planet. They still consider it all three of those things. But Ceres, you've seen recent pictures of Ceres. I would consider it a dwarf planet and not an asteroid because it's spherical, it's circular in nature. It's large enough that it's circular. It's got a large enough gravitational mass that it collapses in on itself in a circular fashion. And it's about 600 miles in diameter. So if you were to take a spacecraft, like a manned spacecraft, and land on the surface of Ceres, you land on something that's 600 miles in diameter, it's still going to look like a planet to you. It's still going to be very large. It's small compared to the Earth, but it's still a planet. And then, there's a lot of things about Ceres that they discovered last year that I found interesting. They think there might be ice. They might have like an iced crust. It has an ice crust covered in dust, and that beneath the crust there might be a liquid layer of water. It might even have an ocean. So they're still, short of sending a manned mission to Ceres or a probe. They talked about in the future sending a unmanned spacecraft that would land on the surface of Ceres and drill into the crust to see if it has an ocean. If it has an ocean,
you said that Pluto is beyond the Kuiper Belt now.
No, Pluto is considered a Kuiper Belt object. Kuiper Belt.
Even though it's not in the Kuiper Belt, or is it technically
in the Kuiper Belt? Or it's a Kuiper Belt.
If you look at the map I'm showing right now, there's the Kuiper Belt.
Well, I mean, they believe that it's a Kuiper Belt object. They believe that Pluto originated in the Kuiper Belt. It was knocked out of orbit into
Right.
the outer edge of the solar system.
Okay.
I mean, it has. Look at Aries. Aries is a dwarf planet larger than Pluto. We haven't sent a manned spacecraft there yet, but Aries is larger than Pluto. It's further out than Pluto, and it's definitely a Kuiper belt. Yeah, Pluto. Sorry, let me correct myself. Pluto is technically not in the Kuiper belt, but they believe that it is a Kuiper belt object because it originated. Because it's got such an elliptical orbit. It's something not. You don't. Objects don't get such an erratic orbit like that unless something had a collision and got
Right.
knocked out of orbit. So they believe that it originally came from the Kuiper belt and then migrated into the outer edge of the solar system. And Aries is bigger than Pluto. So would you consider, if you want to consider Pluto a planet, then you would have to consider Aries a planet as well. And so that would make it more confusing. I like the more simple classification dwarf planet. I have no problem with that, even though some people still do, like particularly Arizona. But
Yeah, we're not blaming you, Arizona, so don't get messy on the show.
it's silly that they passed a law like that. It makes no sense to me. But and I was also off camera. Another fascinating thing. This is kind of old news as well. There's actually sound in space, but it's not the sound that you would imagine. It's sound that you couldn't hear with human ears. Like the Voyager 2 spacecraft, and they entered the heliosphere. The heliosphere is the big bubble buffer area at the outer edge of the solar system and deep space. And Voyager 2 has penetrated that, and it's still functioning with reduced power. Its plutonium reactor is not producing as much electrical energy, so they've shut off all non-essential systems, including its video cameras. But it's still sending data back, and it's still analyzing, sounds, vibrations into deep space. And they found that, like, the hydrogen atoms in that part of the heliosphere on the edge of deep space actually vibrate at a certain frequency. Now, if you were exposed into like a human, you not only would you die, but before you died, you wouldn't hear anything because it's so thin a medium that it couldn't be picked up by human ears. But Voyager 2 was able to pick it up. So there is a sound of sort in space, and you can look up the sound file. NASA put the sound file online. You can actually hear what deep space sounds like. It just sounds like a bunch of screeching. But it's the vibration of hydrogen atoms. And I thought that was fascinating. And that's kind of old news. Raymond, tell us about your NASA article.
I was just reading the other day that Congress has given NASA $55 million to go and find space, to go and build a space habitat on Mars by 2018 to house astronauts and that, and do a proper mission on Mars.
Did you say by 2080?
18.
Oh, 18. Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty soon.
2 years' time. Yeah. It's been up. Congress have given them $55 million to start doing it.
Wow.
There was another interesting article. I didn't know this until recently. There was a canceled manned mission to Venus. NASA had come pretty close to sending a manned mission to Venus in 1973. When the Apollo space mission was winding down, they had all these Apollo rockets. They had all this technology that they had already built that they were trying to find a secondary use for. And they were like, well, we haven't really explored Venus that much. And there was something about the Earth's trajectory at the time. It would have only taken 123 days one-way trip to Venus. They could have slingshot using Earth as a slingshot. They could have gotten to Venus in 123 days.
Wow.
And they were going to recycle the lunar, the Apollo space rockets and the Apollo spacecraft to send a manned mission to Venus. Now, they wouldn't have landed on the surface of Venus because that would have been deadly. What they were going to do is they were going to go into orbit around Venus, take a bunch of close-up pictures and close-up observations with human personnel on the spacecraft. And there was a second, there's like different stages with the Apollo mission. There was different stages where there's breakup, like the rockets detach and this part detach. And they were going to modify the spacecraft where there was one detachment that would not detach, and it would convert that into a livable habitat for long-term stay aboard the spacecraft. So it was a planned manned mission to Venus of sorts, but they weren't going to land on the surface. They were just going to go into low orbit around the surface of Venus and do some close-up photography and close-up analysis with human eyes, and then they were going to return to Earth. But they pulled out and canceled the mission due to budget constraints because as the Vietnam War was winding down, they also slashed the budget of NASA.
They talked about by 2025 that we could have a manned mission to Jupiter.
Oh.
Well, I mean, yeah, you would need a very big spacecraft because you need all your water, all your oxygen, and all your food for like years to be able to go to Jupiter. Europa is pretty volcanic. I don't think it would be very safe to land on the surface. Titan is an interesting planet. I know Titan has some oxygen in its atmosphere, but it's very thin. I mean, not very thin. It's very small quantity, not breathable form. But you might be able to harvest oxygen from the surface of Titan. And Titan has a small gravitational mass that you wouldn't be crushed by the gravity landing on the surface. The only problem with landing on the surface of Titan is that you have oceans of liquid methane, which is extremely cold, which would be untouched would kill you. You'd have to have a very durable spacesuit, something that would have to redesign a whole new type of spacesuit for extreme cold, like cold to the point where it's just barely above absolute zero. And right now we don't have that technology designed for that. So,
right.
But the interesting thing is that a lot of people are not aware of this. It's nothing to be too alarmed, but in the next billion years, Earth will become unlivable because the sun in a billion years, they calculate, will start to heat up and emit more solar radiation, and it'll make it unlivable on planet Earth. So, if mankind is going to survive longer than a billion years, we'll have to travel into deep space at some point.
Right.
Or go extinct. And
there's
then
an article.
What? Go ahead.
There's an article. I don't know if you could click onto it on the side. Could you click onto that, or?
Oh, okay. I'll click onto that.
Yeah. You can read that article there.
Scott's just finding all this interesting.
Astronomers now develop a new technique for detecting habitable planets around distant stars.
What was that?
I'm familiar with the Kepler. Sorry about that. I was familiar with the Kepler spacecraft. I think that's what they're getting at, because the Kepler spacecraft's been discovering thousands of planets in deep space.
Right. Wow.
That's probably related to that. Oh, the Goldilocks zone. I'm familiar with the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. Like Mars is just outside of the Goldilocks zone. Like Mars is a little bit too cold, and Venus is a little bit too hot.
Right.
So what they're trying to find is a trajectory of a planet that's in this similar orbit like Earth, and they found planets like that. There's one planet they dubbed Earth too, but it's twice the size of Earth. So
yeah,
if you were to land on the surface of such a planet, the gravitational force might crush your bones.
Yeah, but that was Kepler 123, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what You can have a planet. If you have a planet like that, that's twice the size of Earth in the Goldilocks zone. Yes, it's going to be the right temperature, but is it the right atmosphere? Is it a gas planet? We don't know what configuration of that planet. It could be a really small gas planet, and it wouldn't be very livable at all. And part of what makes Earth so inhabitable is the atmosphere. The atmosphere and the magnetic field. Venus has no magnetic field. Mars has no magnetic field. So you're exposed to all kinds of solar radiation. So you got to have a planet with the right kind of or you have to have the right kind of magnetic field to protect the atmosphere from being blown away, and then you have to have the right kind of atmosphere because, like, I think they said that if Earth didn't have an atmosphere, it would be much colder than it is. There's a little bit of a greenhouse effect going on with the way our atmosphere works because it retains heat. And if it wasn't for the heat being retained, then it would be like 60 below zero at the equator. It's the atmosphere that keeps the Earth warm.
Right.
I'm just going to ask a question.
We stopped spinning too.
Yeah, the atmosphere provides friction, but yeah.
Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me if I'm out there somewhere, there's a parallel Earth and there's people living on there, and we don't know about it yet.
I'm pretty sure that's true. I mean, I believe that there's aliens out there, and
same here.
Although I believe that if we ever encountered an alien intelligence, it'd be like something that we couldn't comprehend. It wouldn't be humanoid, and it wouldn't be. That's why I liked movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Starman so much, because the aliens were like essentially non-corporeal. They were very abstract aliens, and I think it's if we ever encounter aliens, they're either going to be like 2001: A Space Odyssey, or they're going to be like from the movie Starman,
which is a good movie. Back in the day.
Because Starman, he just inhabited a body, he cloned a body, which is my favorite subject, cloning. He cloned a body, but his raw form, he kind of looked like a pure energy ball.
Right.
That's pretty cool. But it wouldn't surprise me, like I said, if there's people like us, which we don't know about, out there on a parallel Earth, and we go, and they're trying to do the same and try and find life out there.
That's entirely possible.
Look how much space there is between us.
Yeah.
The Drake equation.
Pretty much, we're looking into the past. So 2-to-1, there has been a planet out there like this, but because they're in the past and we're looking at them now, to them then, they're probably looking to us a billion years in the past as well.
Right.
That's the only problem with this. I mean, yes, I'm glad we're looking for intelligent life.
You'll never find it
out there, but because there's not here.
So far away.
But how are we so certain that the life that we're seeing now isn't dated back to the time of the Black Plague, or after this planet has long since disappeared? That's the only problem.
Classic Star Trek episodes covered this premise. Like, they would go to a planet that was like 1960s Earth, and it was a very similar evolution, but a few things happened differently in their history, but it looked just like Earth. And
it does.
And there was one planet they went to where it was like everything was medieval. Yeah. And it was run by a computer. But yeah, they were like very religious and it was very medieval, it was like Dark Ages of Europe is what it looked like. And it was a very parallel evolution. I believe that's entirely possible. There could be another literal Earth too, where there's a parallel evolution that's almost identical to us. Right. There could even be duplicates.
Very interesting.
Depending on what time.
I do remember there was a movie several years ago. I think it was called Earth 2 in a way.
There was a TV show called Earth 2, but I think it got canceled after one season.
Yeah.
But they were all looking up to the sky. I remember the commercial. Everybody was choosing because you could see it in the sky, and it was like they were trying to decide who's going to go there, who's worthy of it going there.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't. I can't remember. I think I saw a trailer of that show, and I just wasn't really that interested.
I saw Earth 2, and at the end it turned out to be almost like set up as a prison.
Wow.
That's where we were sending prisoners. It turned out to be so.
All right. It's getting late, guys. I'm getting tired. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right, I'm off tomorrow, so that's a good thing.
We'll talk about Ash vs. Evil Dead. I didn't get to talk about it
Yeah,
tonight.
I'm gonna watch that here. If not tonight, then tomorrow, definitely.
All right. Good night, guys. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.